William Barr, with declassification authority in hand, goes after, quote, unprecedented intel abuses against the Trump campaign. Says, quote, a serious red line has been crossed. Hello, this is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government. And today we're going to be talking about Attorney General William Barr and what he's been doing to rein in the intelligence abuses that occurred against the Trump campaign in 2016 and were carried over into the transition after the election and then the administration after President Trump was inaugurated in January 2017. This became the investigation that special counsel Robert Mueller took over in May of 2017. And so altogether, it went on for about 3 years. And now Barr wants to find out how it began and where it all came from. In an interview with Jan Crawford of CBS News, Barr is laying down the gauntlet. He says, well, quote, I just think it has to be carefully looked at because the use of foreign intelligence capabilities and intelligence capabilities against an American political campaign, to me, is unprecedented, and it's a serious red line that's been crossed, close quote. That's a very, very, very hard line that William Barr is taking here. He is taking issue with the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court Act warrants that were taken out against Carter Page, a Trump campaign official at the time, beginning in October of 2016, that were predicated in part on allegations by former British spy Christopher Steele, who was hired by the DNC and the Clinton campaign, who said there was, quote, a well-developed conspiracy of cooperation between Trump and Russian leadership. He included Paul Manafort and Carter Page as intermediaries. And he said that there was that the DNC hacks, which were put on WikiLeaks with the emails, had been done, quote, with the full knowledge and support of Trump and senior members of his campaign team. Now, this all turned out to actually be false, as we found out in the Mueller report. There was no conspiracy. Quote, the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. And, quote, the evidence does not establish that the president was involved in an underlying crime related to Russian election interference. So Barr's going to get to the bottom of this, and it begins with this declassification order by President Trump. He's going to be giving Barr the power to declassify this, just as the president has. It says, quote, the Attorney General is conducting a review of intelligence activities relating to the campaigns in the 2016 presidential election and certain related matters. The heads of elements of the intelligence community and the heads of each department or agency that includes an element of the intelligence community shall promptly provide such assistance and information as the Attorney General may request in connection with that review. It goes on. Quote, the Attorney General may, by applying the standards set forth in Section 3.1A or 3.1D of Executive Order 13526, declassify, downgrade, or direct declassification or downgrading of information or intelligence that relates to the Attorney General's review referred to in Section 1 of the memorandum. Again, that's where the heads of the intelligence agencies have to cooperate with the Attorney General Barr. And if you go to the executive order that the memo is citing, and you go to, that was, again, Executive Order 13526, and you go to Section 3.1, there are two standards that the memo is setting forward. Under subsection A, quote, the information shall be declassified as soon as it no longer meets the standards for classification, or under D, it is presumed, quote, that information that continues to meet the classification requirements under this order requires continued protection. In some exceptional cases, however, the need to protect such information may be outweighed by the public interest in disclosure of the information. And in those cases, the information should be declassified. When questions arise, that shall be referred to, yada, yada, yada. So basically here, what you have is if there's an exceptional need for public interest in disclosure of the information, if Attorney General Barr determines that, he's going to declassify it. He has requested this authority. President Trump has given him this authority in the memorandum that was issued on May 23rd. And he's going to get to the bottom of this. And I'm really excited about what he's saying here. This is truly an attorney general who takes this very, very seriously. He says that it's just, quote, it's just as dangerous to the continuation of self-government and our Republican republic that we not allow government power, law enforcement, or intelligence power to play a role in politics, to intrude into politics and affect elections. Barr added, quote, republics have fallen because of Praetorian Guard mentality, where government officials get very arrogant. They identify the national interest with their own political preferences, and they feel that anyone who has a different opinion, is somehow an enemy of the state. And, there's that tendency that they know better and that, they're there to protect as guardians of the people. That can easily translate into essentially supervening the will of the majority and getting your own way as a government official. Ouch. He's talking about, by the way, FBI Director James Comey, the intelligence chiefs at the time, John Brennan, James Clapper. That's who he's talking about, and that's who he's looking at. The decisions that were made in 2016 to use the Steele dossier and to get the FISA warrant against the Trump campaign that gave them access to emails, phone calls, text messages, and other documents. This was spying, no question. And Barr is going to get to the bottom of it. Crawford, Jan Crawford, CBS News asked if this is what happened in 2016, where the will of the majority was being contravened. And Barr replied, quote, there were counterintelligence activities undertaken against the Trump campaign. And I'm not saying there was not a basis for it, that it was legitimate, but I want to see that what that basis was and make sure that it was legitimate. Well, that sounds, frankly, legitimate to me. We need to know whether or not this was well predicated, if it had a basis in law, if the allegations were fake. As we later learned, there was no conspiracy with Russia based upon the Mueller report. Well, did the intelligence agencies know that it was fake at the time? It was all sourced to Russian Kremlin sources. And so if the intelligence agencies thought that Steele was telling the truth, then they were knowingly using Russian intelligence to develop this Trump-Russia conspiracy theory. And if they thought it was fake, well, then they were supplying false information to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. And that can't be happening. So I think that the Barr has to get to the bottom of it. Fortunately, he believes it's his responsibility. He told Crawford, quote, one of the key responsibilities of the Attorney General, core responsibilities of the Attorney General, is to make sure that government power is not abused and that the right of Americans are not transgressed by abusive government power. That's the responsibility of the Attorney General. You're darn tootin' it's his responsibility. And thank goodness we have an Attorney General who is taking this seriously and who is going to get to the bottom of these abuses that occurred against the Trump campaign and then the Trump administration. This has totally undermined President Trump's tenure in office. And it's undermined our foreign policy. It's made the world a more dangerous place. We're having trouble getting nuclear agreements now with North Korea. Russia, the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty, has now frayed. And so we have to get to the bottom of this because we can't allow this to happen to a president ever again. And the truth is coming out. And it's only a matter of time, thanks to Trump's declassification order and Barr going forward with it. It's just a matter of time. And we're going to find out the truth of all this. And we're going to know whether or not it was done in compliance with the law or if the law needs to be changed. That's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, and maybe it needs to be reformed. But that's the commentary. This is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government, dailytorch.com. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and have a great day.